Okay, so welcome to the February 27, 2025 Board of Ethics meeting. We haven't been here in a while, and since that point, we have a new member. So I'd like everyone to welcome Amy to the board. Amy, welcome.
Welcome.
Amy.
So
Thank
since
you.
last we came here, we have already recorded a majority of the recordings, which are brief summaries or synopses of the sections of the Code of Ethics. We still have a couple left. I believe there's 5 left that we have to get done. And once those are done, they're going to be submitted and they're going to be posted on the Board of Ethics website so that people can access them along with the Citizens Guide and the code itself. And then we will start the next assignment, which would be to try to put together a symposium or a seminar explaining the Code of Ethics, preferably written down to some extent, maybe with some hypotheticals, things like that. And work with the departments to try and see how we can get people to attend the meeting to make them more familiar with the code. Just going to go through each of the. So we have roll call. Let's just do the roll call. I just wanted to give a synopsis of what we're doing, but roll call. Michelle Sawyer.
Here.
Pat Tony.
Here.
Pat Agadow.
Here.
And Amy Ayala. Did I get that right, Amy?
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
Here.
So everyone, welcome to Amy. Does anyone want to participate from the public? Let me take a look and see if we have any members of the public here. I'll give it another minute or two. I'll give it to 7:05. Right now it's about 7:03, probably in some change. Wait till it turns to 7:05, and if no members of the public have appeared, then we will move out of public participation. While we're waiting, just so everyone's aware, the 5 sections of the PowerPoint slides that need to be recorded via YouTube, or via recording and then to be hopefully placed on YouTube, is sections 32.6, 32.7, 32.11, 32.14, and 32.15. Take a look and see which one of those sections you feel most comfortable doing, and then work amongst yourselves to figure out who wants to do what. Some of them are more complicated than others. Some of them are quite simple. I believe I've sent everyone the PowerPoint slides. If you don't have them, let me know and I can get you those specific ones. But it's now 7:05 and there's no one here that from the public, and no one has raised their hand. So I'm going to close public participation. Next, we have to accept the minutes. I'm going to post the minutes on the screen in a moment. Hold on. Where are they? There we go. So as you can see, since last we were here, Common Council member Ann Wennerstrand was on the board, but the last time we had a meeting, she was on the Board of Ethics. She's no longer on the Board of Ethics. And so Pat and Pat are the only 2 members of the board that were here at that meeting. So do either of you have any edits or revisions to the minutes of September 26th of 2024, either Pat?
I just had one question about the very first line as to who was attending, and then it says chairman, and then it has.
Yeah, we have to make that change. We don't have a chair right now.
Right.
Right.
That's a good call. And that should be something perhaps that you want to talk amongst yourselves about. About whether, and it shouldn't be chairman, it should be chair. Whether a chair should be you guys can decide, if somebody wants to be chair, if more than one person wants to be chair, maybe decide amongst yourselves, and then perhaps at the next meeting, we can put it up to a vote, a formal vote, so we can have a chair, somebody that I can be in contact with to help direct the board as we go forward. So I've made those changes that Pat, Tony recommended. Pat Agador, do you have any other changes, or Pat, Tony, do you have any changes besides those?
I do not.
No.
It was a pretty simple meeting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
all right. So as it stands now, will one of you make a motion to approve and finalize these minutes?
I make a
Motion to approve the
right.
September
I'll second it.
26th.
Thank you. All right, so Pat, if you approve this, what you've already moved for, can you please raise your hand? Both have raised their hands, so the minutes have been approved. They're no longer draft minutes from September 26th of 2024. These are the final approved minutes. Let's see what else we have here. Old business, discuss the Board of Ethics slides and the accompanying education/training programs for the city and its officers and employees. We've discussed at the beginning of the meeting and very briefly that there are still 5 sections that we have to summarize by way of short videos to give members of the public, officers and employees of the city a brief synopsis and understanding of what each section of the code means, because some of them are more complicated than others. We've been successful in getting a majority of them done. We've still got 5 stragglers out there. So we're all going to work together to film those so we can get them uploaded to the city website so that we can notify departments that they can, start to view these things, as well as members of the public. They'll be on the website as well once they're finalized. Does anybody have any questions about these PowerPoint slides and presentations?
I have a couple of questions. Anybody else want to go first?
No, go ahead.
Anybody else have it? Okay. You've talked with the HR department yet, Brian? This is how they wanted to do it. We're gonna give them all our slides. They're gonna be posted up on under us, under HR. Where do they go?
So I think the best place for them to go is the Board of Ethics City website. I've been in
Okay.
contact with the mayor's office.
Okay.
My understanding is once all the videos are done, we're going to get them over to them, and then they're going to review them and get them uploaded onto the city system. I have been in contact with HR over the last couple of years that this has been going on. We're on our second HR director since we started this. I know I've spoken to Ray Burney, the prior HR person, and I believe I've spoken with Tina Fogel at least once about this and made her aware of it, as well as the IT department, who said they would assist us in any way going forward in that regard. It's been a while since that email went out, but again, we haven't had a meeting since September. So yes, we've reached out to departments to assist us in getting these uploaded once they're finalized. And then it's just a matter of how it's going to be promoted or how we're going to get notice out there that these things exist.
Will we get to make a recommendation on how we think they should be promoted or the course should be promoted?
Sure. What we can do is once they're uploaded into the
Yeah.
system or they have them,
Mhm.
maybe I can ask you guys to have one of you put together your general thoughts in writing and submit it. And then at our next meeting, after that email or document has been submitted, perhaps you can make those statements during the meeting so that it's more generally aware to the public what it is that you're recommending. I mean, the idea here is to try and get people to know this stuff and to understand that it exists. So we want notice, we want publication, we want those things. I think it makes sense to put them on the city website where the Board of Ed exists, because we already have the citizens guide attached there, as well as the city code. And if somebody has an issue, typically they would, if they have an ethical issue, they would come to the city website, look for the Board of Ethics. So that would probably be the most logical place for it to be. Maybe it's not the only place. Maybe it would be somewhere else as well. I can speak to HR to see whether they're giving people new employees web links to the city code, specifically the Board of the city, the Code of Ethics and the Citizens Guide, and hopefully these slides when they're uploaded, perhaps we can give people a web link. So at least they know it exists and they have a chance to review it before they start.
My last question, did you get any input from the mayor's office on how strongly we want to get this training out and make sure people are taking it? Did we get any other guidelines?
No,
Okay,
what was
he's
the
probably
idea?
they're waiting for us, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the communication has been with the mayor's office and with the relevant departments. Hey, this is coming, help us do this. We kind of figured it out on our own how to do this. As you could see, like I asked people to review this, to record themselves, and that didn't work out so well in terms of obtaining them, so then I brought you guys in here to do it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the next step, how to publicize it. I think once we have them, that's the next step about, well, how do we make sure that people are aware of this, both residents and employees/officers.
Right.
I think
So-
if it lives on one page, like lives on the ethics page, there's no reason it can't also have links in HR to that page or
Sure.
on the, general city website with links to that so that people could find it from multiple places.
Absolutely. I think, I don't, whether the links are somewhere else or whether they're just in one site, there should be communication or transparency about how to find these things. Some people have difficulty getting around on the city website. So the idea would be to try and make this as public as possible. Quite honestly, if you Google City of Norwalk ethics or Board of Ethics or ethics, just simply it pops up. So that's why it makes the most sense to put it there, but I'm not against placing it in multiple places. I would also like to see it some kind of link to some kind of web link within, like perhaps introductory papers to a new employee or new officers when they're sworn in, saying, hey, take a look at this.
Do
Click on this link and
employees
take a look
or
at it.
office, do they have an orientation of any kind?
Well, I know they have a FOIA orientation. I don't know if they have an ethics orientation. I've not been involved in that. Perhaps they talk about ethical considerations when they're talking about FOIA. I have not been a party to the FOIA symposiums that the new officers have. I can tell you as an employee, when I started, there was no FOIA, any kind of ethics presentation. I was made aware of it because I work in the law department.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe that can be part of our recommendation is
Yeah,
to add
I
that
hear
to
where you're
an
going
employee
with that.
orientation.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
mean, it
and
just
I
seems
think it makes
should
sense
be
for you
good
guys to
governance.
collectively think about what it is that you want to recommend once these are uploaded and put it in writing so that I can forward it on to the mayor's office and any other department that needs to weigh in on this, whether it's HR or otherwise, so they can see what you guys recommend. I mean, you guys have done all the heavy lifting for the last couple of years or months to try and put this together. And we're almost there. I think we're pretty close. And my hope would be that we would finish all these recordings before the end of April.
That seems
Can
doable.
do that.
Yeah. There's only 5 left.
Mhm.
We have 6 members of the board. So it's really less than 1 per person. And I know it's a little unfair to ask those who've already done them before to do another, but if everyone does 1, then we're only short 1. And some of these are one or 2 of them are quite simple. So we can
Well,
discuss.
I
who
should be
wants
able to
do
do
one.
more than one. I haven't done any, so I do
Sure.
a few of them.
Yeah, I mean, what I could also do, Amy, is if you want, when you come in, I can try to play for you one of the videos of somebody who's already done one, just so you have a general idea. But essentially what it is the people have been taking the PowerPoint slides and making a brief 1 to 2 minute presentation, basically going through what the PowerPoint says, but trying to make it maybe a little bit simpler in terms of the language, or perhaps trying to give an example if one exists, like, don't use city property for anything other than your job, which means, don't go take a city car and go gallivanting around on a Saturday, you know, or whatever. If you're taking a city car, don't do your errands. Do the city job and then
Mhm.
come back. And if you need to do an errand, go in your own car. So something as simple as that. So it's essentially just going through the PowerPoint, bullet by bullet, and perhaps giving a little explanation. There's usually a little intro and a little conclusion that we try to be consistent with, but you know, it's not set in stone. So yeah, that'd be great. Everyone, so I guess the homework in the near future is to take a look at the sections that are outstanding, look at them, see which ones you feel comfortable with. And then we can work on times for you guys to come in here and video them. They don't really take that long once you get used to it. And you know, no one's perfect, so if we have to shoot one or more than one shot of it, so be it. It doesn't take that long, so. And we're almost there.
Amy, do you want to, since you probably, the rest of us were here when we were writing them, I don't know that you've seen them, but do you want to just review and review the 5 that are left and see which ones you would like to do, and then maybe the rest of us can
Yeah.
just what's left.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, all right,
I'll do that.
great.
And you have a whole set, or you know where to, the,
Well,
I think Brian just sent them.
we have them on one of the
the
emails.
email. Yeah. Yeah. And
I
those, I mean,
believe-
like, I'm looking at my phone, I don't, a list of numbers, but I think if I look,
I did email
You keep
Amy
sending
all the
them.
PowerPoint slides.
yeah, I think I have an older, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I emailed if anyone needs another copy because they don't have one of the ones that's outstanding, let me know and I can get them to you. And then, I mean, let me just take a look if there's anything else here. There's no new business. We're not going into executive session for anything. So does anyone else have any comments or questions or recommendations, before we end the meeting? I know this is a pretty quick meeting, but I think we'll have a more substantive meeting once we're done with this and we start going forward with the symposium or the seminar or whatever you want to call it.
I just think it'll be really, I get the sense we're all gonna be working well together. I just get that feeling. It's not a good energy on it, or it's that, or we haven't had a meeting for a while, but I'm gonna stick with good energy.
both.
So I would really like us to all have a really, I don't know, strong recommendation for how this thing should be either promoted, used. Is it optional? Is it going to be more required? You know, something we all feel comfortable with, because in my experiences on the corporate side, these kinds of things are, you know, part of good governance. And we're getting to a point as a city, we get bigger and bigger, more and more people are moving in and et cetera. And I think it would be great to have a very confident, you know, strong way to promote it and have people be watching it. Because as we've always said, you know, one issue that's substantive, you know, could take a lot of time and could be a costly experience. So
Do we want to, as Brian said before, like put together something to send to him? I'm happy to compile if everyone wants to send their thoughts or ideas
that's a
to
great
my
idea.
email. I'm happy to compile them in a list and then send them back out to you guys to review before we bring them up at the next meeting, if anyone's interested in doing that.
Great.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Happy to do that, but I
That'd be
guess
great. Yeah, this way we,
in a
that's
in a
great.
perfect-
Thanks.
in a perfect world, if we were able to all meet in person and have
I
a
know.
Yes,
think
that
tank.
would actually probably be an easier
I think
easier time.
I don't think it would be difficult in that setting for us to come up with one voice, you know, or come up with ideas. We all have different experiences. And want to make this something good, but we don't need to a whole lot of back and forth of
It's a
emails.
lot, yeah. No,
And-
I get it. I just wasn't sure, Brian, you'll have to tell us what the rule is. Like if we
Right.
meet outside of a set meeting, like what's the rule around
Sure, the
that?
rule is, for FOIA purposes, if there is a quorum of the board, and you're talking about board business, then it would meet the definition of a meeting. And then if
Okay.
we don't notice the meeting pursuant to the FOIA rules, we're in violation of FOIA. So that's why, when I send out, emails, I send it out to everyone. It's very, it's just basically like very basic information. We're not
Mm.
talking about the meeting here. We're just asking, are you gonna come? Or
Yeah.
what it is, because we don't want to establish that we've had a meeting improperly and had improper notice. So if you're going to meet in person, it cannot be a quorum. It cannot be 4 of you altogether. If you're talking about Board of Ethics business, if you're just having, if you guys all headed off and you're all great friends, and you're just that's fine, but you can't talk about board business, otherwise it would meet the definition of a meeting, and then we have improper notice and we're in violation of FOIA. So
Okay.
again, it has to be less than 4 of you if you're going to talk about the board stuff, or if you're going to email to each other, email can also mean a meeting. So if you're emailing everybody, just be aware that that could meet the definition of a meeting as well.
Can you make this an executive session?
What's that?
Yeah,
Can you make this an executive session?
That's
Sure.
something I would have to research. We can't go into executive session for any reason. There has to be a specific reason. That being said, you could all come up with ideas or your own list of things that you want to discuss for the next meeting and bring them to the meeting, and then we can discuss it at the meeting. Because at that point, we may have all the videos done, we may not. But at least you'll have that's not what us finishing the videos are gonna have no consequence on what you want to recommend once they're done. So if you want to start thinking about it now and compiling a list, and you want to send your individual list to me one-to-one, that's not a meeting. And then
Okay.
I can send out a summary of everything that you guys have sent to me to each one of you individually, and that's not a meeting. However, just for transparency purposes, these communications that are going back and forth, we're going to be discussing at our next meeting because we want to be transparent about this. We're trying to avoid, by way of these communications, we're trying to avoid an improperly noticed meeting, thereby violating FOIA. We do not want to do that. So the preference would be you guys each individually come up with a list, no communications with each other, and then you guys bring those lists to the meeting and we talk about it. Everyone gets a chance to say what they want. We'll compile a list, and then after that meeting, you'll all have a copy of everyone's comments or thoughts, and then we can try to whittle them down. And then maybe bring it back for a second meeting to say, hey, listen, this is what, people think or whatever, but it's not the easiest way to do it. But we do not want to have an improperly noticed meeting.
Yeah,
So should we put that on our agenda for next meeting, everyone?
Yeah, I
That
think
sounds
the
good.
recommendation would be for you guys to come up with the list of, you guys are gonna come up with a list of recommendations
to
about how
you.
you want to try and do this thing that we can
Okay.
submit to the powers that be.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want us to bring do you want to just bring our list to the table, or do you want to compile them ahead of time so that?
Let's bring it,
Right.
you know what, everyone just bring their list. We'll compile it at the meeting. This way we can have
Okay.
longer than a 20-minute meeting.
Okay.
So everyone can, for the newcomers, I mean, a lot of you are new. Some of you have been on for less than a year. I think it'll be helpful to listen to everyone's thoughts about how they came up with this stuff, because people think about things differently.
Yep.
And it'll give everyone a chance to kind of digest what everyone's saying. So that this way, once we have a list from everybody, everyone will have pretty good knowledge about why they have those feelings. And then afterwards, you guys can look back at it in a critical eye. And when we come back to the next meeting, perhaps we will be able to whittle that list down of what your recommendations are. Because I think if we give them too many recommendations, it waters it down. You want to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know how many. You don't want to have too many recommendations. You want to have solid ones that you're saying, not just ones that you think, well, we just need to throw as many out there as possible and see what sticks. I think the idea would be to come up with 2, maybe 3 really good recommendations about what you want to do and why. What is the basis for why you want to do it this way?
I think if you could just define what the audience is going to be. I mean, I suspect that the administrative people in City Hall will probably be looking at these, but is this going to go down to every single employee?
You mean the
It's gonna be
recommendation?
mandatory, recommended, whatever, for every employee of the city of Norwalk, which could include some people that might not have access to a computer at work or something like that,
Pat, are you talking about,
or is this gonna be mandatory or just highly recommended, or?
well, that's something that you guys are gonna have to,
Okay.
that's something that you guys are gonna put together as to what you think it should be. When you put it out there as to,
Mhm.
and again, it also could be, not only could it be, whether we want it to be or not, whether it's feasible or not. I'm assuming that there's software where IT could put something together that says, okay, you're now being requested by the city that you have to review these 17 or 18 sections of the city code videos. It'll take you a half an hour. When you're done going through all of them, you have to check a button off that you viewed it, and then you have to certify or affirm at the end that you've reviewed all these things, and then you click a button and it goes back to IT. So IT knows, okay, employee A has done, they've reviewed the videos, blah, blah, blah. These are the people that are outstanding. Is it mandatory? Is it not? That's not our call.
Mhm.
But we can make, I think the idea is to come up with a list of hey, these are our videos. We believe people should be viewing them and they must be viewing them, or we say, we strongly recommend. That's for you guys to decide. What's going to be sent out to employees or officers or the, for that purpose, we don't know yet. But what we have to do is you guys have to come up with why you believe they should be looking at this. And is it mandatory or is it just highly recommended? That's not for your decision either, but you can certainly make the argument.
Who makes that final decision?
I would imagine the mayor's office or the HR department.
Okay,
Yeah, we can make a recommendation. The board can make a recommendation. Hey, we've done the work here. We would like people to view this thing. And then I guess it's their decision as to whether it's going to be mandatory or not. And can they make it mandatory because they have the technology? If they don't have the technology, then how are we going to make it mandatory? So those are things we're going to have to discuss after we get these things uploaded and you guys make your recommendations.
And I assume these things would be able to be done on duty time.
What's that?
At work.
Or
Typically, I mean, I've
Sir,
seen.
yes,
Obviously, yeah.
my opinion would be that if we're telling people that they must familiarize themselves with this, that the code of ethics, so that they understand
Mhm.
that it exists and what they should and should not do, because it's not black and white, but you have to understand what it is so that you can kind of navigate potential ethical hurdles while you're working at your job,
Mhm.
So I would believe that you could do this during your time at work. That's why we also endeavored to make these as short as possible, one, for attention spans, and two, so that people could do this and not waste half a day on it. And when I say waste half a day, I'm not saying that they'd be wasting their time, but people have a lot of things to do, and so we wanted to keep these as brief as possible. We also broke them down so that they didn't have to watch all of them at once. And obviously, my recommendation would be that if they are going to view these things, that they be given a period of time to do this, maybe tell them they have a month to do it. You should be able to watch a 2-minute video 17 times throughout the course of 20 days and still be able to get your job done. I view this as, I view this as when we had FOIA training or we had cybersecurity training here at the city, we did that during city hours and we were required to go there and do it. So I don't see why this would be any different.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all.
Anyway, so that's kind of our next steps is to, think about, and I don't think there's a lot of recommendations that have to be made. I think it's how do we disperse this or make the public aware of it? How do we make the employees and the officers aware of it? And should it be mandatory? Should it not be mandatory? I don't think there's too many recommendations that have to be made here. And then it's just a question of feasibility and technology and feasibility and what's, what the administration decides is what they decide, but we can then start advising them, hey, we've done this, now we want to do the seminar and see what their thoughts are about the seminar, like how is it going to look? We don't know how it's going to look yet. So that's kind of the next step after that.
Sounds good.
All
All
right.
right.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, does somebody second?
Second,
Okay, and can we have a vote? Well, we have 4 members. Does everyone vote to adjourn?
Yes.
yes.
All right, it's
That's-
unanimous. All right, everybody, have a good night, and
Thanks, everybody.
let me know
Take
about your
care. Thank you.
availability for the recordings, once you decide which ones you're gonna do.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay,
have a good one.
Thanks.
take
Thanks.
care.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.